Hi, my name is Brandon Nelson, and this is my presentation on Earls Endurance Swimming Nutrition Plan. Let's get into it. So starting point, an athlete's profile. Before building any nutrition plan, we need to first understand the athlete. For example, Earls, 150 pounds, also known as 68 kilograms. And because sports nutrition recommendations are based on body weight, you notice that all my targets are written in grams per kilogram per day, not just in total calories. Another important point is that nutrition shouldn't stay the same every single day. Endurance swimmers don't train at the same intensity every session, so their fuel intake shouldn't be identical every single day either. That is why this plan adjusts Earls nutrition based on whether it's a recovery day, a moderate or intensity day, or a long endurance session. Macro targets by training load. This slide shows how the macronutrients change depending on training load. The biggest change is in carbohydrate, as we can see in the chart. On recovery days, Earl only needs about 5 grams per kilogram because he's using less glycogen. On hard training days, that increases to about 8 grams per kilogram to make sure he has enough fuel before training and enough carbohydrate afterward to replace what he used. Protein stays pretty much constant, around 1.6 to 1.8 grams, as we can see in the chart here, because muscle repair happens every single day, regardless of how hard or intense the workout was. As for fat, it remains about 25% of total calories and is important for hormones, overall health, and additional energy. But carbohydrate is the nutrient that changes the most based on training. Hydration, before, during, and after. Hydration is just as important as food, especially for swimmers. Many swimmers don't realize how much they sweat because they're constantly in the water and they don't know how much they're sweating. Before training, Earls should begin hydrated with about 5 to 7 milliliters per kilogram. So we can see in the chart here, roughly 4 hours before practice. During longer sessions, replacing both fluids and electrolytes help maintain performance. And if the workout lasts over an hour, adding carbohydrates can also provide extra fuel. As for after practice, as we can see here, the goal is to replace all the fluids that were lost. That is why I recommend weighing before and after practice, so hydration can be individualized rather than just guessing based on thirst and guessing how much fluids they lost due to sweat based on how intense exercise was. So weighing will help I individualize this. Supplement strategy. Supplements are meant to be support good nutrition, not replace it. Caffeine is one of the most researched performance supplements and can improve alertness and reduce fatigue before key workouts or races. However, this is important that Earl should always test it in training before using it in competition. Creatine is useful because swimmers still perform dry land strength training. It can improve strength and repeated sprint performance, which is important for starts, turns, and explosive efforts. Dietary nitrate, commonly from beetroot juice, may improve endurance efficiency, although athletes respond differently. And then finally, the macronutrients, such as iron and vitamin D, should only be taken if blood work or dietary assessments show a deficiency rather than supplementing automatically. 1 week fuel periodization. This slide shows how the nutrition plan changes across the week. Notice that the highest carbohydrate intake is matched with the harder swimming sessions like the intervals as we see in the chart. Long endurance swims and race pace training. Recovery days use less carbohydrates because glycogen demands are a lot lower than the other training days. Although carbohydrate changes, protein stays fairly consistent every day to support recovery, while the meals remain practical foods Earl can realistically prepare and eat throughout the week without making it too challenging to get all the nutrients that he needs. The important takeaway is that the meal plan follows a training schedule rather than eating the exact same foods in the exact same portions every day. And the final slide, how to explain the rationale. The first principle is fueling the work required. Endurance swimmers place a large demand on muscle glycogen, so carbohydrate intake should increase as training intensity and duration increase. That is why the highest carbohydrate intake is scheduled on long endurance swims, interval sessions, and race-paced practices, while recovery days have lower carbohydrate needs because glycogen depletion is a lot less. The second principle is consistent protein intake. Unlike carbohydrates, protein doesn't need to fluctuate much throughout the week because muscle repair and recovery occurs every day. Keeping protein around 1.6 to 1.8 grams per kilogram helps support muscle repair, recovery, and long-term training adaptations while helping Earl maintain lean muscle mass. The third principle is hydration. Swimmers often underestimate how much fluid they're actually losing because they're surrounded by water, but dehydration is still a major factor and can still and will reduce performance. That's why I recommend monitoring body weight before and after practice so hydration can be individualized instead of relying just on thirst. Replacing fluids with electrolytes after training also helps Earl recover and prepare for his next workout. Another important aspect of this plan is periodization. Rather than eating the same things every day, Earl's nutrition changes with his training schedule. This allows him to eat more when his body needs it and needs more energy, and slightly less on the recovery days while still meeting his nutritional needs. Matching nutrition to training can also improve performance, recovery, and overall energy availability throughout the week. Finally, I include a small number of evidence-based supplements, but only after the foundation of the plan was already established. Supplements like caffeine and creatine can provide additional performance benefits, but they're not substitutes for the well-balanced diet. Proper nutrition, hydration, sleep, and consistent training will always have the greatest impact on performance rather than only relying on supplementation. So the overall takeaway from this plan is that every recommendation, from the macronutrients to the hydration, supplementation, and meal timing, is designed to support Earl's training demands. The goal is to maximize performance on hard training days and improve recovery afterward and maintain consistency across the entire training week. And these are the references used in the presentation. Thank you so much.